Welcome to No Question About That. I'm Ed today with Daniel, and we're going to talk about Liam Delap, Matteus Cunha, Victor Osimhen, striker options for Manchester United. A rare speculation pod, this one, I guess. Things seem to be heating up a little bit, though. We've got actual sort of semi-real journalist talking about United's approach here.
Yeah, it does feel like the stuff we're reading about Cunha, that they want to buy him, he wants to come, that seems fairly well sourced in the sense that the people that, like Ornstein, he doesn't post stuff unless he's really, really fucking sure.
Yeah.
And then also you've got Fabrizio Romano also, and it just feels like there's enough detail so that you feel that stuff works. Then because also United obviously need a player in that position, and ultimately we cannot score a goal. Like we need to reshape. We need to reshape the attack, and that requires players. And
it's priority number one, isn't it? I mean, the striker's got to be the first priority.
I mean, yes. I want the new goalkeeper so bad. But in the end, if the ball's down, it feels like a good striker is more important actually than a good goalkeeper. Not just in this team, but generally in a team, you can sort of keep the ball away from the goalkeeper and you won't let everything in. Yeah. Whereas if you can't score goals, it's literally impossible to win a game, as we saw at the weekend.
Yeah, I feel very differently about the goalkeeper than I do the striker. I mean, there's that old adage that Ferguson said, attack wins you matches, defence wins you titles. I may be bastardising that quote, but something along those lines. But with Onana in goal, my general sense is, like, statistically, he's not a huge negative. It's just those ones where he chucks in, everyone's lost confidence as a result. But you're never going to win a game if you can't score goals. And we've scored so few goals this season. We're only just above one a game, basically. -8 goal difference or whatever it is.
You're talking league or all over?
League. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously scored more goals in Europe.
Because we got 7 against Barnsley.
Yeah, well, that's true. So yeah, just in the league. But yeah, strikers got to be right up there in terms of priorities. But of course, typically the most expensive area on the pitch, and United need to sell to buy if we're not in the Champions League next season. May have a bigger budget if we are. And these moves are kind of interesting. I mean, I guess Matteus Cunha it's an interesting journey he's gone over the course of his career. Hertha Berlin, sort of rampaging forward, like those, lot of take-ons, dynamic with the ball. Went to Atletico, they tried to stick him up front in a 4-4-2, didn't work out, got rid of him after a year, and then he sort of transformed into this kind of left-sided attacker, very much in the Marcus Rashford, Alejandro Garnacho part of the pitch, and pretty successful with it. He's massively overperforming his XG, which is kind of a huge red flag, of course. But exactly the kind of position if Rashford is going to be sold, or maybe even Garnacho, that United need.
So, I mean, even if we keep them, they don't score goals, either of them. I mean, we know Rashford's had a couple of good seasons, but it literally, like, I'd like to keep Garnacho as a sub, but until
and he's young.
Yeah,
he's got time.
Yeah, he's got something. I like it. He's got good attitude, I think. He's good to bring on when defenders are tired. And ideal world, we wouldn't have to sell him. Real world, we might have to. And if you're saying it's either Garnacho or Cunha, that's not a difficult question.
No, Cunha's definitely a fit in. He'll go hit the ground running. He's had time in England, Premier League proven. The XG over performance thing is just that there's a big spike this season. He's on 7 XG. He's got 14 goals. That's like you're saying, will he get more chances in the United side in order to score goals? And can he continue his trajectory? Is this a blip or is this his real performance?
Well, he had a good season last season as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just this season. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't even really need the XG. This is the eye test. You see his goals and you think a lot of these are coming from the edge of the box, outside the box. Is this what you do? Yeah. Or is it unsustainable? And I mean, sometimes so an example, when Ashley Young scored those 2 goals in the 8-2 against us, I had a mate who supported Watford. I remember he messaged me and said, I told you he's good. And I said, no, like, he's not going to keep doing this. Like, what will make Ashley Young good will not be the goals like this, because those turns from outside the box, you're not going to keep seeing them. Other hand, I was pretty confident that Mohamed Salah was going to stop scoring those curlers into inside the far corner from sort of 15 yards, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll see from Cunha is he takes a lot of shots.
Yeah, he does.
And it won't necessarily be those goals from outside the box that determine whether or not he's a success. It's like the goals that he scores sort of. I find that he's quite good at finishing across the goalkeeper from sort of that 8 to 20 yard mark.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be those kinds of goals that would determine whether or not he was a success. But
yeah.
My other doubt about Cunha, and obviously you have doubts about almost every signing. I think he's an excellent player. Is how good would he be against a low block?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I hope he'll do is he'll be able to get us up the pitch. He can carry the ball. He's quite hard.
Yes, he can. Yeah.
I mean, his carry numbers I don't think are that good, but I think you can see that he can do it. He's hard to knock off the ball. He's got speed. He's got feet. He's got skill. He's got brain. So he'll be able to get us up. He'd be able to get us up the pitch, I think. But is he a magician? Is he a lockpicker? And I don't know if it's just that's what we're kind of people of our age are used to, playing as a number 10. You're used to Riquelme or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like your kind of definitive number 10. He doesn't do a lot of running.
So few of those
that they don't
exist anymore. Yeah.
If you want to be a good team, and this was even the case like when we had Wayne Rooney, you can have a number 10, but if he doesn't deliver you numbers, he won't be good.
I mean, let's just say as part of United's development, I mean, we're not saying he has to slot into a title-winning side right now. Can he take us from 14th to 4th? Yeah, he's exactly the kind of player that will immediately slot in and improve United's attacking numbers.
But in the end, every player we buy, we've got to be thinking, do we think this guy can be an important player in the team that challenges for the big pots? Because that's where we're trying to get to. And it's not someone that will take us from 17th to 4th. It's someone with the potential to help us get from 17th to 1st. Even if we don't get there, who can be part of that. And what I've seen of him, I mean, and I've obviously been watching him, particularly the last few months, carefully, because I think he's just an obvious signing of someone who's going to have to leave Wolves. There aren't that many teams that can afford him, and most of the teams that can don't need him.
Yeah.
But he fits very well in the way that United play. And one of the other things I quite like about the signing is that I feel like he's quite he'll complement Bruno quite well, and that Bruno doesn't carry the ball so much. He can carry the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno does have those real like lock-picking passes, and Cunha's not bad at them either. And if he's got a good striker, I think we might see him sliding those balls down the sides for a striker who's making the right runs.
Mm-hmm.
But Bruno's got those like the feints, the dummies, and all the rest of it. And Cunha has also got the ability to shoot from the edge of the box, to beat men on the edge of the box, and buy a yard that way. So I do quite like that combination. And also, if those two were to be the two main 10s next season, it means we can put Ahmad at wing back, and
and makes the team more dynamic overall. Yeah, I do like that. I mean, the price is high, and he's on decent amount of wages already, so he'll earn over 200,000 a week at United. It's 62.5 million as a release clause that makes the deal quite easy to do. If United are brave and don't wait until the end of the window and just do it now, then of course you have the risk of financially having to ship players out, might not be in control of the negotiations, etc., etc., etc. It's hard Sir Jim can float cash at any point, but it is hard. And they'll be looking at the pre-June the 30th PSR requirements on that one. If they're going to do the deal now, it sounds like they're confident on meeting that, or there's a sale that's definitely going to happen. Of course, it would leave United with an awful lot of players in the same position of different types, but an awful lot. So, Bruno, Cunha, Xerxes, Mount, Ahmad, and then the ones out on loan, Sancho, Rashford, and Antony. Let's assume the last three all get sold. I mean, United can try and do those deals. It may be difficult, of course, with Sancho especially, who's shit the bed massively at Chelsea. They all hate him. The clause has been triggered, but they may well send him back. It seems like that might be the case.
It's such a shame with Sancho.
I know.
Because Is it because he was good? He was good at Dortmund. So what we say? Are we saying that he's in fact not good, or are we saying
I don't believe it? I just don't believe it. From those years at Dortmund, I was absolutely certain he would be good in the Premier League, and it turns out his sort of lack of intensity is a real downside. Would he be good if he went back to Dortmund or back to the Bundesliga or to La Liga? I think so. He's a technically sound player, unless he just doesn't want it anymore. There's something's gone completely mentally, and he no longer wants to be a top pro. And we've seen that plenty of times with other pros. But it's a difficult one. United need to get him out. He can't come back to United. I mean, the irony of the three of them, Rashford, Sancho, and Antony, the only one that the club would even countenance slightly is Antony, and he's utter garbage. He's like crap. So, but doing well.
Both him and Rashford both scored this weekend. United didn't.
Yeah. Well, not very true. Yeah, Rashford was brilliant for 15 minutes against PSG, and then actually pretty good in defeat to City, playing up front as a number 9. He's displaced Ollie Watkins, who Arsenal wanted in the winter. It's kind of interesting how quickly Emery has put Rashford into the position. I think we all assumed he just couldn't play anymore. And he's doing pretty well. He's not scoring a lot of goals, but I think his performance levels, from what I've seen, are quite high. Which gives us hope that we can, if it's not to Villa, if they can't trigger that clause, it'll be to someone else, because he's not going to be back at United.
I mean, I thought he'd be more of an impact sub. I was quite surprised. I mean, it's a bit of a kick. Ollie Watkins said he was fuming, and I can see why. As in, like, Rashford's not centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
And he's displaced the guy who's been Villa's centre forward successfully for 3 seasons now. And I mean, he's done a few nice things, but he's hardly been prolific. And yet he does appear to be first choice now, which is you wouldn't necessarily do it if you didn't want to buy him subsequently. It feels like that if he can hold it down, there isn't long to go, that Villa will be an option. And I'm sure he doesn't want Villa ideally. I mean, real talk, I imagine you'd rather make it up with Amorim, stay at United than go to Villa.
I'm sure.
It doesn't feel like that's going to be an option.
That would have to be a massive rapprochement. He would have to come crawling back and say, it's not, he would have to make the changes that clearly Amorim didn't see for months in order to get back into Amorim's good graces. I don't think it's like they've just fallen out. There's some philosophical difference there. Whereas Emery, who I think I think there is. Like, I think
Amorim's into Kant, and Rashford's more of a Hegelian.
Yeah, that's right.
They are the two of all the shit of that ilk I've had to read.
Yeah.
Those are the two most complicated. I wasn't trying to do that, but thinking about it, the hardest to understand I found of those two.
I tried to explain existentialism to my 12-year-old the other day. That was an interesting conversation. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In what context? Right. Were you trying to kill him?
No. Yeah. You clean your room, otherwise we'll discover the limits of your existence. Yeah. Liam Delap as a striker, like kind of battering ram, young striker. This is his first season to come back to XG again and be boring and nerdy. First season he's ever outperformed his XG. He's literally underperformed it every single season of his career, which is very short, of course. It's small sample size, even in the Championship. So there's a concern for you. But he's a physical presence. He's pretty quick. He's pretty dynamic as a forward. He's good channel running. He's scored some decent goals this season. He's not very good with his head for a big lad. What do we think about it?
That head thing, I think, is a problem. At least, did you see the goal that Osimhen scored at the weekend?
Yeah.
And did you see the crosses that Dorgu, for the first time, Dorgu's putting in crosses, and no come wants to head them. And then I saw this goal Osimhen scores, and you're like, okay, because I mean, if we were to have a choice of the two, that's just, for me, it's just no choice.
It's no choice at all. It's just the price differential is like 40 million pounds or something. It depends what Osimhen really costs. How desperately, not Galatasaray, what's his parent club? Napoli. Want to get rid of him.
Right, so could you swap him for Garnacho? You'd
do it. Yeah, for sure.
You probably could, more or less. Yeah. And just having that kind of, there's just, Osimhen is electric. Mm-hmm. He can make his own goals. And Delap, I mean, when he scored, I was doing the live blog I think it's against Villa. He scores this brilliant goal where he does a step over, beats the man, and thuds it in. And I thought, okay, because I'd heard that was really good when he was at City. And obviously didn't work out for him there, which doesn't mean anything when you think about some of the players City have sold.
They've sold so many of them. Yeah.
Morgan Rogers, Sancho, amongst others. But yeah, it's not the fact that City sold him, it's because obviously they've got Haaland also on a 78-year contract, so there's just no opening for him there. I would like to have seen more. I'd like to have seen quite a lot more. Not as in seeing him play more often, although there's also that. I would like to have seen him do more in what I have seen. But
30 million. It's the kind of price that Højlund should have
cost. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So if you could do a creative set of deals that brought in Delap and Osimhen and got rid of Højlund, if you can, I mean, it's so difficult. You're probably taking an impairment charge there. Then you'd feel better about it. I'd feel really nauseous if we had Højlund and Delap as our two main striker options next season.
I don't know if I would. If we signed Osimhen and then Højlund's not first choice and he can learn and improve, do I like what I've seen? What I've seen is the best of Delap more than I like what I've seen is the best of Højlund. Do I think it's better?
It's not clear. No. Yeah.
So to me, it is clear. So. Like the best of Højlund. Go and look at Højlund, not you. Generally, one could go and look at Højlund's United goals.
Yeah.
And compare them, and obviously it's a whole different thing. Compare them to Delap's goals, and I promise you will come back and say Højlund looks the better player on the strength of that. And we know it's not because he plays with better players, because mainly the better players that he plays with, nothing to do with it. And that's the frustration with him. We know he's good in some way. He's got something. And I thought he had those few weeks recently, like around this time of the Sociedad home game.
Just before the international break.
Looks like maybe the penny dropped in terms of his movement. And he's now, when I watched him on the weekend, you're thinking, do you really want the ball to come to you?
He doesn't. He's taken 45 shots in 46 games this season. He's an efficient finisher, but that's just not enough. It's just not enough. He needs to triple that. And that's the problem. So, yeah, I mean, time out of the team, not having to be the main focus, time to develop all of that, play with an elite striker, that would make us more comfortable. It is a really difficult deal to get rid of him just because, United need about 45 million to break even on the book value. Who's going to pay that? Nobody's going to pay that. Right. So nobody's going to pay that. So you take an impairment charge. You actually reduce your transfer budget by selling him. It's ridiculous, but that's just the way it works.
What if we loaned him?
Could loan him, but you pay the PSR cost unless someone would cover that PSR, which they wouldn't. They'd cover his wages and a little bit. So you'd still be losing there financially, at least, and you wouldn't have the asset. It's the same problem that United have had with Sancho and Antony this season. You're paying someone else to use your asset. Slightly different with Rashford because there's obviously no book value. So let's talk about Osimhen a little bit because he's an interesting one. I mean, he's had two absolutely brilliant seasons, this one and 3 years ago, basically. He's done a very good season in Turkey. And the rest of them have been a bit hampered by injury. It looked like he hadn't fully grown into his own body or he was too physical. He was getting a lot of muscle injuries. That seems to have not happened this season. Whether it's the lower intensity of Super League, not that Serie A is particularly intense. I don't know, or something's clicked with his doctor, his medical team. They've stopped getting those injuries. That'd be my big concern. You pay, decent amount of money, depending on that release clause is 75 million euros reportedly. I don't know whether they'd negotiate on that because they're desperate to get rid. He's desperate to move. Who knows? Big wages. It's a big package for an elite striker that you just touch would stay fit. Basically, I mean, he's better than we should be getting given our current status in world football, right?
Yeah, but I guess there's always that United still have that attraction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and I feel he's just got that explosion. He's just one of those players. You sign him, he'll lift the dressing room in a way that Delap won't. Well, I just compared Delap unfavourably to Højlund. I think he is better in link-up play.
He's a spiky bastard as well, and we do need some bastards. So is Cunha. Actually, we didn't talk about his shithousery, which is like I don't mind that at all. I mean, he's got sent off a couple of times for stupid stuff this season.
You don't really want the suspensions.
No,
but yeah, like the attitude is exactly what you want.
Yeah. And I did enjoy when we played Ipswich. Liam Delap was like aggressive and like getting into people, and we just don't have enough of that in the team. Just the competitiveness, the desire to win at all costs, the shithousery if you need it, like the physicalness, like all of that. And Osimhen, his status in the game would for sure lift the team. Like an elite striker, elite player, it's going to drag everyone else along with them, and he'll score the goals even if we don't create them, which we should do with the amount of like creative attacking players we've got. Like assuming that everything comes together with the system.
Yeah, and then you see the kind of way that we try the crosses that we were trying to put in at the weekend, and think,
5 great crosses. Yeah,
Amas can cross, and Dogger's. Yeah. And then we've got the option. Obviously, if Amas is a serious left wing back option, and that gives us
very much
the opportunity to play, if we want, to play Dorgu on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly it feels like, are we starting to develop something? I don't know. I mean, we don't know how good Amas is going to go on to be. And I felt like, that right foot needs a bit of work. He did not. He was doing everything he could to avoid using it. But but suddenly if you've got someone in the box, a target, it's just another way of scoring a goal. And we've seen in the last few weeks how effective that is with fucking Harry Maguire up front.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Getting the ball into the box. Never mind someone like Osimhen.
The prototypical Amorim goal that we have hardly ever seen for United is the overload in one of the wide areas with one of the wide tens and the wing back, cut back for the third man or the striker goal, right? We saw that with Garnacho and Ugarte against Lyon, for example. We haven't seen a lot of them. The crosses against Wolves was interesting because it was Amas and Garnacho and Dorgu all putting some brilliant balls, and Højlund stood there like he's part of the Trinity statue, just not moving at all. And I'm like, what is up with it? Like, I don't know, confidence is in the toilet so much that there's just all that movement's gone. He'll run into the channels, but around the box he's really static, and it's a real problem for United. So yeah, you can certainly see with Osimhen, who is great in the air, like elite, one of the best. Absolutely, like leaps like a salmon, physical and all of that. And you could certainly see him getting some very cheap goals that way.
And it's also just the ability to explode as those little passes down the sides of defenders that I know that Cunha and Bruno can play.
Yeah.
And it just feels, like Cunha and Bruno, it just feels like a good combination, I think.
Yeah. So how do United work all this out financially? I mean, we're looking at someone will pay the 40 million for Rashford. Someone will pay 20 million or maybe even less for Sancho. That we can take less to break even on Sancho. Someone will pay 32 million is the PSR for Antony, the book value. Well, Betis can't afford 32 million, I don't think, but could someone like that would get us headroom in the wages to do these deals, at least the Cunha and one striker.
We get Lindelof off the wage bill.
Lindelof, Evans, Heaton, and Eriksson will all be off the wage bill. That's a huge amount of money. Heaton earns like 2 million quid a year for being a training partner. It's brilliant. What a job if you can get it. It's amazing. So yeah, there's going to be a huge reduction in wages. Let's assume, like outside of those 3 that are all on loan, are there any other sales that are likely to happen? Maybe Garnacho, right? That's the big one. Like depending on how much Amorim, because you look at Garnacho's data this season. 19 goals and assists is like there's almost nobody of his age that has got that many in the top 5 Euro leagues. It's all competition. So his numbers are good for what has been we'd say a mediocre season and getting better. Yeah. Crap team, mediocre season for him personally, getting better over time. I think he's looked pretty dynamic in recent weeks. He's obviously desperately selfish, and his finishing efficiency is quite low. Right, he's under 20. He's about 18%, I think, shots to goals. Not awesome, So would you sacrifice him just to do these deals if we're not in the Champions League? Are United better? Probably, but you're losing a high potential young player.
Yeah, ideally you wouldn't sell him, but I think if we don't get Champions League, it feels like we might have to. And I also feel that if we do sell him, it will be to get someone who's better.
Mm-hmm.
And if
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Yeah,
I mean, we've done so many over the years where we're like, get rid of the deadwood, and we get rid of the deadwood, and the player that comes in is shit. So
yeah, it feels like if we were to get rid of him, it would be to get someone better. And if he wasn't an academy product, which he only half is anyway,
yeah,
we wouldn't be thinking twice about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps since he signed a new contract, he has 0 book value, so it's all profit. Basically, it all goes on the books, which allows you to do a lot of. I mean, if you sold him for what would you take? Above 40, right?
Yeah,
in this market.
Yeah, 40 million. I'd say that's what you might get.
Yeah. So that allows a lot of spending this year. Obviously, you still have to pay for it. It's not free money. A lot of people on the internet seem to assume it is. It's not, but it allows you to kick the can down the road. Chelsea have done that very successfully. We see an awful lot of young players coming through at the moment. That's really good because even if they don't make it, you can sell them. All right, before we go, some of the young players that played recently, like Harry Amas, is he a legit option for like the squad next season, or would you loan him? Tyler Fredrickson was a surprise. Aidan Heaven, Kukoni, we've seen both the Fletcher brothers have been in squads recently. Like, how do we use those players next season? If we've got no European football, you can integrate a few of them and lose a lot of senior players. If we do have European football, maybe especially Champions League, you want some more experience and you loan them out.
I think if we don't have European, it depends. Yeah, if we don't, because it's Champions League or nothing.
Yeah,
it's hard to envisage any of those guys playing in the Champions League if we get into it. So, and because there's no Europa, it feels like if you're not going to use them, you got to get rid of them so they can play.
Yeah,
I think Amas feels like he's going to be playing first team football probably, and he'll stay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like they're going to bother trying for a right wing back this season. It feels like it's going to be Dalot, Ahmad, Mantato, and Dorgu. Like there are 4 options that we can play there, different kinds of players. So it doesn't feel, and I understand that. I mean, obviously you'd like a specialist, but at the same time, I understand why they're trying to get Kenda because he's meant to be a generational talent. So if you can get him, you do. But if not, then I can see why you'd spend.
Well, he's getting Chelsea, isn't he? So
I can see why you'd spend on other parts of the team.
The right wing back's an interesting one because I mean we know Dalot's just not productive, right? He's available, which is his biggest strength in this squad of like fragile fucks. Yeah. And so that's his biggest strength. He can play a lot of minutes and he doesn't get injured. He's looked tired in recent weeks, I'd say. But Ahmad, we know, is a great attacking option there. He's got a hat-trick from that position. Mantato has looked great at youth level. He's still quite young and raw. We haven't seen him in the first team yet. All right. Well, that's strikers. Delap, Cunha, Osimhen. I wonder if there'll be a surprise there if some of those deals don't come off. Cunha's an obvious one, slot straight in with the question marks over his XG and his price, I guess. Striker's a difficult one to do.
The other thing with Cunha that I forgot to say when I was talking about low blocks is I think he's done quite a bit better away from home. Yeah. Which sort of feeds into that same situation. What can he do in a team that's looking to dominate possession?
Yeah.
But I hope Amorim, doesn't want to dominate it with sterile possession. I don't
think he does. We've had that a fair bit, but yeah.
But you need risk takers, and he is one. And yeah, I think it feels like, bearing in mind everything like age, Premier League experience, and the various things that he's good at, it feels like a good fit. But
yeah,
said that before.
We have said that many, many times. Yep, and we are a talent-destroying factory. Have been for a decade, and we're trying not to be. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Oh,
leave you to get back to the snooker.
There we go.
Very good. Men playing the sticks and balls. Very good. And everyone else, thanks for listening or watching wherever you are. Tell your friends and family. Leave us a review. Thanks a lot. Bye now.
It's all right.